What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. On today's video we are talking about a shoe that has had a lot of hype. At least it's had hype in my own mind since I first saw it at TRE. But this is Nike's update to the Vomero. This is the Vomero 18. And to say there has been a lot of changes in the Vomero 18 would be an understatement. This is basically a whole new shoe. Let's get into it. Right, before we get started, I do just want to say that Nike was good enough to send me this pair of the Vomero 18 for the purpose of review. However, they haven't told me what to say. They don't have any editorial privileges, and all the thoughts and opinions are my own. But that said, you're going to be able to pick up a pair of the Nike Vomero 18 for $150. Okay, so I don't know if you're ever going to hear this again, but that's a price drop from the Vomero 17. Last year, the Vomero 17 cost $160. So let's dig into the Vomero 18 and find out what makes it brand new. Well, by now you have probably heard that Nike is going to be streamlining their running line of shoes, and we're going to have several pillars. We're going to have the Structure, the Pegasus, and the Vomero. Now within each of those lines, we're going to have three tiers. We're going to have the Icon, the Plus, and the Premium. This is the Icon version of the Vomero. And later this year, we're going to be seeing the Vomero Plus and the Vomero Premium. So stay tuned for those. But this year, the Vomero 18 has just grown up just a little bit. And now we have 46 in the heel, 36 in the forefoot, still for a 10mm drop. Now last year, the Vomero 17 had 39 in the heel, 29 in the forefoot, also for a 10mm drop. So we're seeing a stack height increase of 7mm. Now, in a lot of places, you're going to see that the stack height has grown by 6mm, and that's probably because I think the stack height in the Vomero 17 was actually 39.5mm. So the Vomero 18 has grown somewhere between 6 and 7. Probably 6.5. And that's not the only difference between the Vomero 18 and the Vomero 17. So right now, with 36mm in the heel, like that's a max stack shoe. And Nike has intentionally positioned the Vomero 18 to be a competitor in this wildly popular running shoe niche, the Max Cushion Daily Trainer. But by doing so, by making the Vomero a true Max Cushion Daily Trainer, they've also taken away something from the people that love the Vomero 17, like me. But I think it was actually a good play by Nike, because last year when the Vomero 17 came out, I actually thought this was very similar to the Pegasus, and I actually liked it better than the Pegasus. I mean, last year, before the Plus and the Pegasus Premium came out, I would have thought the Vomero was like a more premium Pegasus. But now, by bringing out the Vomero 18, with its max cushion stack, Nike is kind of leaving the work of the Pegasus, so you know that mid-cushioned daily trainer, the type of shoe that you can do everything in. Nike's leaving that to the Pegasus, and they're taking all the max stack goodness and putting it in the Pegasus rather than overlapping the two. Now, do I miss the Vomero 17? Yes, but it's really unfair to compare the Vomero 17 with the Vomero 18, because it's just a different shoe. It's made for different types of runs. Now, because the Vomero 18 is a max cushion daily trainer, if you are looking to pick up a pair of the Vomero 18, you're probably also going to be looking at the Hoka Bondi 9. Now, the Hoka Bondi 9 has 43.38 for a 5mm drop. It'll cost you $170, so $20 more than the Vomero 18, and weighs in at 362 grams. So it's 22 grams lighter than the Vomero 18. Next up, you'll probably compare it to the Asics Glide Ride Max. Now, the Asics Glide Ride Max will also cost you $170, so $20 more than the Vomero 18. We have 44.38 for a 6mm drop, but the Glide Ride Max only tips the scale at 349 grams, so that's 35 grams less than the Vomero 18. And finally, if we're looking at Max Cushion Daily Trainers, that search wouldn't be complete unless we compared it to the Brooks Glycerin Max. Now, the Brooks Glycerin Max has 45.39 for a 6mm drop. It'll cost you $200, so $50 more than the Vomero 18, and it tips the scale at 379 grams, so it's only 5 grams less than the Vomero 18. So it's pretty comparable. I mean, comparable in stack height and weight, not really price, right? So let's jump right in and talk about materials of the Vomero 18, and we are going to start on the heel collar, and no surprises here, we have plenty of padding around the heel collar. Now Nike does say that the heel collar on the Vomero 18 is 18% softer than the Vomero 17. If I just pull out the Vomero 17 again and actually feel them both, yeah, I guess there is a difference. It's the type of thing that you would never notice unless you had them both next to each other, but it feels like the material around the collar of the Vomero 18 is just a little softer. The material on the 17 is just almost a little coarse by comparison. Anyway, moving on. The heel counter on the Vomero 18 is fairly rigid. Now, it's not super rigid, but it's more rigid than something that is not rigid. I hope that was clear enough. While I want to say it's semi-rigid, that's only because I am able to put just a little bit of pressure on the sides and the back, but that's really not saying anything. It is definitely rigid enough to give you a good heel lock. And I didn't experience any issues with any heel slip at all. Nike has included this heel pull right on the back, which I think is a nice addition, aesthetically speaking anyway. It's kind of got like a faux suede kind of microfiber overlay right here on the back, but but the heel pull on the Vomero 18 is like just wide enough for me to get that finger in. But right here in front of you, I think that is both the first and the last time that I will ever put my finger in that heel pull. I had no issues getting my foot into the shoe, so for me it's not really needed. Now for the upper, Nike is using a new engineered mesh, and I want you to take new with a pinch of salt because I don't want you expecting too much different. It's still an engineered mesh like most running shoes, but Nike is including zonal breathability, and just by looking at the shoe I can see we're going to have greater breathability across the toe box and then here on the sides. Gotta say the upper wasn't particularly warm. I definitely found it breathable enough. Oh, something else that Nike has added to the Vomero 18, and this is these overlays right here. Nike is calling this a haptic print, and it just adds a little bit of structure and stability to the upper. And we've got it right here on the lateral side and then again on the medial side. Yeah, it's just helping that upper stand up a bit to make the shoe more accommodating for your foot. The tongue on the Vomero 18 is super padded and thick. You know, I can't be surprised. The tongue fits the shoe. This whole package is very comfortable, and the tongue fits right in line with that. There is no lace loop on the front, but the tongue is gusseted, and just with the thickness and the gusset, the tongue is not going anywhere. I'd be very surprised if you ever heard of anyone that had tongue migration issues with the Vomero 18's tongue. As far as overlays go, yeah, we got the swoosh on both sides, got this haptic print, got that microfiber overlay coming around the heel. There's underlays coming around the toe box just to keep that off your foot, and then there is a little reinforcement right along the eyelet chain. But Nike is also using a type of flywire. Oh, it's not really flywire because flywire tied into the rest of the shoe, but they're using kind of like a rigid bungee cord to tie those laces through for the eyelets. It looks pretty good. Of course, Nike has included this extra hole right at the top in case you wanted to do the heel lock lacing, and the laces are, well, the laces are fine. They didn't come untied once. So let's come down to the midsole. Now, Nike is using a dual density setup. So they're using two different foams, and you can see right on this bulbous part right here, we have a big Zoom X printed. What the funny thing is that where that Zoom X is printed is not actually Zoom X. The Zoom X label is right under the Zoom X. So what we've got is a thin layer of Zoom X right on the top, and basically on this colorway, it's everything above the red. So we've got a thin layer here, and then we've got React X on the bottom. Now, the Zoom X makes for a very nice step-in feel. Like when you put your foot in, it's just that Zoom X soft, and it feels very good. Now, this is not your usual React X. Nike has reformulated it to make it more responsive and just a better overall foam. Now, you may remember in the Vomero 17, we had a top layer of Zoom X and a bottom layer of Cushlon 3.0. Well, the React X is a big step up from the Cushlon, and the Zoom X and the React X working together just partner beautifully. It's a nice ride, but we'll get to ride in just a second. Oh, let me just show you the bottom. Now, I think the thing that is most apparent is this big area in the middle with the exposed React X. And also we've got these flex grooves in the forefoot, and while I'm talking about flex grooves, let me just give that, it's actually surprisingly flexible. That's nice. But anyway, where you can see the rubber, that's Nike's high abrasion outsole rubber. They have reduced the amount of rubber coverage on the 18, at least when we compare it to the 17, and they are including this podular design in the outsole rubber, which you can see up here on the forefoot. Now, Nike says that this podular design is to increase flexibility and durability. Now, as far as wear goes, when I look at these little podular outsole rubber pieces up on the top, I think it's actually looking pretty good. I can still see those little grooves in the outsole rubber, which tells me that after the amount that I've run in this shoe, that it's not wearing down very quickly. Now, if I look back here on the heel, on my lateral heel edge, where I usually see the wear, yeah, there is one little traction square that I can notice has been worn down more than the others, but honestly, that's not surprising. In fact, that is to be expected on any pair of shoes, especially a daily trainer that I take out and test. But other than that, I think the outsole rubber is standing up pretty well. I'm not so sure about increased durability with this podular design, but I would still say that it's going to last an average amount of time. But for $150, at least compared to the other max cushion daily trainers that we've looked at, you are saving money. So as far as ride goes, I am not going to be unfair to the Vomero 18 by comparing it to the Vomero 17, because again, it is a totally different shoe. I'm going to take the Vomero 18 as something new, and I'm going to compare it to other max cushion daily trainers. And at least in my collection of max cushion daily trainers, the Vomero 18 is the heaviest, at least by a couple of grams. But with that said, I have to add that the Vomero 18 does not ride like a super heavy shoe. And I think this is where Nike has really nailed the design, the geometry, and the midsole foam, because it all works together to make a very smooth and comfortable and soft ride. Now, when I say soft, the Vomero 18 is definitely not marshmallow soft, but I would also say that it is not firm in the slightest. They have really been able to grab that middle ground of what feels good when we're out on the run. Now, the Vomero 18, again, a max cushioned daily trainer. It is made for those daily runs. You could put this shoe on your foot and you could go out and you could knock out a 20 miler. And if you can handle running 20 miles, at least your feet aren't going to feel bad because they have been so comfortable and like bubble wrapped in the Vomero 18. It's a solid ride. The downside to the Vomero 18, and again, it's not really a downside because Nike has reinvented the Vomero, but I didn't find it very good at picking up the pace. Now, in my testing, all I did as far as speed work goes in the Vomero 18 was strides. So in any one moment I never ran more than a minute fast in the Vomero 18. And of course I would stack several minutes on top of each other when I'm just doing very long strides or short intervals. And when I started picking up the pace and turning my legs over a lot faster, that's when the weight became apparent to me. I didn't think the Vomero 18 flowed very nicely at speed. And that's not because it wasn't a smooth ride, it certainly was. I think it ultimately came down to the weight and that I started to notice that I was bringing more weight and moving it quickly. Does that make sense? I mean, I don't want anyone to watch this video and think that I'm bagging on the Vomero 18, because if you were buying this shoe, you're buying it for comfort. You were buying it for those daily runs. Nike does have a whole suite of shoes that would work better for running fast. Of course, the new Zoomfly immediately comes to mind, and the Pegasus Plus is an excellent option. But if you are looking for some smooth, comfortable miles, then you might want to take a look at Nike's Vomero 18. Oh, just a couple more things before I let you go about the fit. Now, Nike typically runs a little narrow, and I would say that the Vomero 18 is slightly narrower than some shoes, but I did have a lot more room in the Vomero 18 than say I did in the Pegasus 41. It seemed to just be a little more roomy. And then as far as stability goes, I know, look, when we've got a stack of 46 in the heel, it can be a little scary to know that we have like that much foam under our foot, and is it going to be a bit wobbly? I can say that I didn't experience any instability issues in the Vomero 18, so if that is a concern of yours, just know that it wasn't really an issue for me at all. So now I want to hear from you. Have you run in any of the Vomeros over the last 18 years? Are you thinking about picking up a pair of the Vomero 18? Drop a comment and let me know. But for now, it's Matt B. This has been my review of Nike's Vomero 18. Be kind, be happy, run well. I'll see you in a couple of days.